All right, let's dive into Iain Crichton Smith's short story, Mother and Son. And I've got to tell you, this isn't just a story. It's this incredibly powerful and honestly pretty unsettling look at what happens when family duty becomes a kind of prison and love gets twisted into something all about control.
Yeah, so this is definitely not a heartwarming tale. The story's real power is in its brutal honesty. It completely shatters that perfect, idealized image of family, forcing you to confront a much grimmer reality that can fester behind closed doors.
Okay, so to really get to the heart of this psychological drama, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at the relationship itself, the characters, the setting that traps them, the words they use as weapons, and finally, that haunting ending.
So first up, this destructive bond. The entire story really just orbits around this one central, toxic force, the connection between John and his mother. It's a relationship that's been completely stripped of any warmth and is built instead on a foundation of pure domination and resentment.
And look, we're not just talking about a difficult relationship here. This is a textbook case of psychological abuse. The mother, even though she's physically weak, stuck in bed, she holds all the power. She uses her dependence on John not to connect with him, but as a chain to keep him tied right to her.
And this is what's absolutely tearing John apart, right? On one hand, he's got this deep, baked-in sense of duty to take care of his sick mother. But on the other hand, he dreams of a normal life. You know, a job, some independence, a world that exists beyond their gloomy kitchen. And his mother, she knows this, and she expertly twists that sense of duty into a weapon to crush his own happiness.
So how did things get this bad? Well, to really get it, you've got to look closer at the two people who are locked in this struggle together, the captive and his jailer.
Just look at the contrast here. It is night and day. On one side, you have John. Physically, he's a capable man, but emotionally, he's been stunted, worn down into this state of almost childlike helplessness. And on the other side, his mother. She's physically trapped in a bed, but psychologically, she's this powerful manipulative force who is actively, systematically making him miserable.
Man, this description is so revealing, isn't it? It just perfectly captures John's whole deal. On the surface, he seems passive, almost simple, just worn down by years of this abuse. But underneath all that, there's a little flicker of something else. A suppressed rage that's been building and building for years. A dangerous potential that even he doesn't seem to get. And the mother? Wow. She is just a portrait of pure bitterness. Being stuck in that bed has only made her cruelty sharper. She doesn't even see John as her son, really. He's more like a container for all her disappointments. She blames all his supposed flaws on his father's side of the family and even hates his name, because to her, it's just a constant reminder of the capable man he'll never be. Now, this whole psychological war doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The very walls of their house, the land outside, they play this huge role. This isn't just a backdrop. In this story, the setting is basically an accomplice in their entrapment. The story is just masterful at creating this feeling of claustrophobia. There are no locked doors, no barred windows, but John is just as trapped as any prisoner. The house itself becomes the physical version of his mental prison.
And look at how every single detail here just works together to build that feeling. The isolated house, it cranks up their loneliness. The nonstop rain mirrors their misery. The dim light, the decay all around them, it's all just a reflection of the decay in their own lives. The setting is a perfect mirror of their inner world.
This isolation, it creates this awful feedback loop, you see? With no friends, no outside support, John is completely vulnerable to his mother's manipulation. And for her, being stuck in bed in this lonely house just deepens her bitterness, which she then aims entirely at him. They are locked together, just amplifying each other's misery.
So how exactly does she keep this controlled over him? It's not with physical force. Her power comes from a constant, relentless barrage of psychological attacks. Her weapon of choice, her words.
The story uses the word barbs for a reason, and it's the perfect word for it. These aren't just criticisms. They are verbal darts, designed specifically to pierce his confidence and get stuck in his head. Every single one is a small, calculated act of cruelty. Her attacks are so systematic. First, she goes right for his greatest desire, getting a job, having a life outside that house. She plants the seed of doubt that he is fundamentally incapable of it. Next, She preys on his social fears. She paints the whole outside world as this hostile place where he'd just be judged and ridiculed, which makes the prison of their home seem like some kind of twisted, sick form of safety.
And finally, she just guts his competence. She makes him believe he's destined to fail, that he just doesn't have what it takes to be a man out in the world. It's a complete and total demolition of his self-worth.
And the effect of all this, piling up day after day, is devastating. This isn't just an argument. It's psychological warfare. He's left feeling completely powerless, trapped in a mental prison that she has carefully built for him, brick by verbal brick. So this all leads us to the story's climax, which is so powerful precisely because of what doesn't happen. All this rage that's been pushed down for years has to go somewhere, and in these final moments we see it finally threaten to just boil over.
This whole sequence is just heartbreaking. The rage finally builds to a breaking point, and he walks to her bed. His hands are described as unintelligent, which suggests this pure, physical, almost mindless impulse. But he can't do it. He sees her asleep, wearing that same bitter smile, and his rage just collapses. Instead of exploding outward, it implodes, and he ends up with the exact same bitter expression on his own face.
And that's the real gut punch, right? Nothing changes. There's no release, no escape, no resolution. John doesn't break free. The rage just gets reabsorbed, and that final image suggests he's literally becoming just like her. The prison door stays locked.
So why does this incredibly bleak story even matter? Well, because it reminds us of some really difficult truths. That family isn't always a safe haven. That the deepest scars are often the ones you can't see. That the strongest prisons are the ones we carry around in our own minds. And maybe, most chillingly, that when rage has nowhere to go, it can curdle into the very thing we hate.
And that's the killer question the story just leaves you with. By showing us a cycle that doesn't end, it suggests that for John, the real horror isn't just his suffering right now. It's the fact that this story is probably just going to repeat itself, day after day, with no final page in sight.